Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to PrepperCon Radio. We've got Shane, the prepared guy, as always.
Good morning.
And we've got a special guest, Jeff Kirkham from Readyman. How you doing, Jeff?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Oh man, we're so excited. I'm sitting here. For those of you, I wish we had a TV feed you could just hop in and see. I'm over here trying to calm the chaos between these two as they're already jumping into our topic for the day, and it's hilarious. I'm like, wait, hold on, that's good content for later.
Hey, we can talk
and they
about
just
it
keep
again.
going, change up. No, wait, what about this? And I'm like, no. I'm so glad you guys are both here.
For everybody.
This is normally this would be our Survive week. Last week we did Survive. This week we're talking about protect. Before we jump into it, though, quick announcement: PrepperCon is coming up April 15th and 16th. So if you haven't done your taxes, get them done now, so you've got your refund. If you've got a refund, if you don't have a refund, I love you. You're awesome. You're doing it right. No free loans to the government, but get your refund. Don't spend it on a Hawaii trip. Don't spend it on a Disneyland trip. Get prepared. Come down to PrepperCon, get ready. We're going to have so much more than last year. Last year we had a fun show. For those of you who were there, thank you for coming. This year it's going to be even better. We've got a shoot house, so you can learn how to sweep your home the proper way. Jeff and Readyman team's going to be there teaching that class. So it's going to be a big booth you can run through with synthetic rounds, so it's safe. We've also got a hurricane simulator. We're finalizing production on that right now, and that's actually something we've had custom built. So this is like Hollywood quality effects. You're going to feel
Even better than Hollywood.
I would say better than
right?
Hollywood. This is like Universal Studios has got nothing on us. By the time this thing's done, it's going to be sweet. It's going to be fun. We've got 4 classrooms this year instead of 3, so we're going to have more than 80 classes. We've got survival stars. We've got, for the fun part, we've got Kyle Bell and Ben Bell off of Mountain Men. So if you watch that show, you'll meet these guys. They're from New Mexico. Totally awesome guys. A lot of fun. They do a ton of hunting, trapping, anything outdoors and survival. These guys are...
They live in Alaska?
They live. No, these guys are in New Mexico.
Oh, New Mexico.
So
You said that.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. We've also got... Well, I can't tell you yet. We're still working on a couple contracts. If we get these to come through, I got some more celebrities to tell you about.
Very cool.
But
That I know about.
But we've got some really, really good classes. We've got EMP classes. We've got active shooter classes. We've got first aid, medical training, suturing. Mm-hmm. If you want to understand how to take care of a wound, what kind of wounds need a suture versus what kinds don't, and then how to do that, you need to get to PrepperCon. Go to the website, get your tickets, and if you're really smart, you'll click on the special offers tab. Mm-hmm. And you can get our PrepperCon Readyman survival card. It's got 22 tools in one.
It's the best one, Jeff.
Thank you.
And
Actually, Scott helped quite a bit. So
Exactly.
can't
Jeff
take
and
all
I,
the credit.
well, Jeff can take about 95, 99% of the credit on that one. We sat in his office for a couple hours discussing and talking about it and drafting it out, and within like 5 minutes, all of a sudden we're like, this is it. This is what we need. So if you want one of those, go to the special offers page, purchase the 2-day pass, you'll get one of those for free. They're awesome. I've already been using the needle to suture, I shouldn't say suture, using the needle to stitch a doll together for our commercial, which is going to go live here in a few days. But we're excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. So get your tickets, get ready. Go to preppercon.com. And without further ado, let's jump into guns. Let's talk into...
I want to make a bit of a segue, if I could.
Okay.
From the previous segment with Paul. We were talking about really what's going on in the legislature and so forth. And one thing I wanted to point out, because I really didn't have any time to talk, which is fine, some great callers, is that people have, or the American public has forgotten to, or really doesn't know what it means to be an American. What the Second Amendment is truly about, what a standing militia is about, or the lack of having a standing army. The reason we have arms and the reason we should have a militia is that it's up to us, right? It's our responsibility to protect our own country. And so that's one of the reasons why we're talking about guns today.
Absolutely. That's a great point. So, when it comes to having a standing army, when it comes to having your own militia, or when it comes to just keeping your right to bear arms, I always look at it, and there's a couple different ways you can look at it. I mean, I love the handguns for close range personal protection, primarily to stop muggers. or if you want to go wild, wild west, you can do White Earp. I don't recommend it. I don't see that working well for anybody.
Right, the handgun is so you can fight your way to your rifle, correct, Jeff?
Fight your radio rifle, exactly. But that's all you got. I think it was Porter Rockwell that said, God made man, Colonel Colt made him equal.
That's right.
Yeah. That's a true quote. I've actually read 3 of his autobiographies. That guy was one tough dude.
Yep.
And he was nice. He was a very caring individual, but you don't take him off. He was tough. I'm kind of a sissy when we compare it to that, but
I think we're all sissy when it comes to comparing ourselves to more Porter Rockwell.
so today we've got in-house. I mean, this is pretty exciting for me. Jeff, let's talk a little bit about your background a little bit in firearms. You guys have just launched a bunch of courses through Readyman.
We did. So with Readyman, we just got finished up filming the Ready Gun, which we're calling the cage dynamic sometimes, with slang terms that we're using for that. And so we're in the process of editing that up for the video content for our members.
Nice.
There's a bunch of free content on some of that stuff on our Facebook page and Instagram and whatnot, and also full30.com, full30.com. And so basically what we did is me and my business partner, we were both in Special Forces for, him for about 20 years and me for about 28 years. And then what we did is we thin sliced down all of the fundamental things that you need to know to be safe and effective when you're shooting, and when you're shooting and moving, and when you're shooting and moving targets. And so we filmed all that, and we're putting it in the process of putting that together right now, and should be some really exciting content.
Very cool.
Well, there's that, and then you also do. I noticed you guys had a CCW recently that you threw up online. Have you had that class yet? Or
We have, yeah. Actually, we've done 2 of those classes now, where we do a free CCW class, and then obviously the pitch there is we're bringing folks in so they can meet us, get interested in Readyman, and then get interested in joining our membership. We're coming out for some of our other live trainings that we have, where folks come in and we teach everything from a basic pistol all the way up to advanced pistol carbine. And one of our hallmark classes that we have is the home defense and tactics.
That's
where we teach folks to go through their house safely, and that's actually is a taste of that is what we're going to do at PrepperCon.
Awesome. So, if guns kind of freak you out, you need to come to PrepperCon and hang out with Jeff. He will just quelch that fear right away. You are in control. That's the beautiful thing. Is the more you know and the more you understand about firearms, the better you are prepared to handle them.
Absolutely. And we like to, the parallel that I like to draw all the time is like driving a car. It's amazing all the similarities between driving a vehicle and shooting. And just like with a vehicle, if you're not paying attention and you don't know what you're doing, you're essentially in a 2,000-pound bullet. You're going to go off the road and you're going to cause some damage. And it's very similar with any type of firearm. So knowledge is power in this place, and they can be extraordinarily safe. You just have to treat them with respect, and just like a vehicle.
Absolutely. So that's our segue, I guess you could say. We talked a little bit about handguns. I want to jump into the rifle conversation. We've got a couple here in front of us, and I'm really excited about this, because my knowledge on advanced weaponry, rifles, it's very limited. And that's why we bring in experts like Jeff. Shane is as close to an expert as you can get, I think, without quite being there.
Maybe self-proclaimed.
Self-proclaimed. But we're close. Jeff, tell us what you have and why you have it. Because this is beautiful, and you've shown some functionality, but tell us what this is.
Actually, I think it gives due for a little bit of background story. So back in 2002, I was part of a team that tested and did the first empirical data for Special Operations Command.
What's your name?
For the AK. And what had happened was,
Jason?
at that time, the war had just kicked off because of because of September 11th, and so
Okay.
SOCOM, or Special Operations Command, was looking for an AR
Okay,
platform
put you on
that
hold
would
for a
shoot
second.
the
As soon as you can
7.62
get
by
to your question,
39, which
we'll
is
pull
the
you on air.
caliber
Right, that's
that
correct.
the AK shoots. Most AKs shoot. And so we ended up going in and testing, and the rifle that they had was absolute garbage. Like the barrel was literally falling off, and bullets were going through the barrel because it was drooping, and just it malfunctions, and so it was really bad. And so the SOCOM commander, it wasn't, excuse me, not the SOCOM commander, the colonel that was in charge of the program said, why don't we just shoot AKs? And everybody said, well, because AKs are this and that, and they're not accurate, and the ergonomics stink, and all this stuff. And the colonel said, okay, show me the data. And they scoured DoD, couldn't find one study that had been done that had true data in it, that wasn't skewed in some way. So he said, okay, until we see a study, I want to see a study. I want pure data. So we went out and we tested the AK, and actually by the end of the second day, is a week-long test. We had to count for every round, and the test was rigged to fail. And then by the end of the second day, the AKs that we had were performing so well that the SOCOM called back and said, you guys are fabricating your results, because there's no way those rifles are performing that well. And of course the CW5, which is about as high up as you could get in the military besides a general, had some few choice words. We had a CW5 looking over our shoulder, and at that time there were about 5 CW5s in the entire Army. Had a few, and he was a Vietnam vet, had a few choice words to say. The testing went on and continued. I bring up that story because the original competition that took place for that rifle, for the 7.62-39, was actually won. It was awarded to Knight's Armament, but the competition was actually won by a local guy here by the name of Robinson Armament, Alex Robinson.
Now you're comparing this, the rifle that failed that you were speaking about was an AR platform?
It was an AR platform, yeah. And so fast forward, I met a guy, my family's into the machining and manufacturing, and I met a guy that said, he was a machinist manufacturer, and he said, man, you need to meet this guy. He makes a rifle that's kind of an AK M4 baby. And so I said, well, okay, and I looked it up on the internet. I was dubious at first because every AR platform I'd looked at that point was not. It was an AR platform that they put a gas rod on. And I'm not a big fan of the AR platform. And
whether carbine or piston.
Whether carbine or piston.
Okay.
There's some major design flaws in it. I equate it to the PC of the firearms world, like the Microsoft. The PC has got so many band-aids on it that it works, but when it breaks, it breaks.
Right.
And so
That's why you need like 3 or 4 of them. So
that's why
you can't follow the code of 1 is none and 2 is 1.
Right,
It's
three,
10 is
3 or
1.
4, and then when it starts acting funky, you pull all your data off it and you throw it away and you buy a new one, kind of like an AR.
Okay.
So, anyways, I looked at pictures of Robinson Arms rifle, and immediately I've got to go up and talk to these guys. And so I went up there and spoke to Alex, the owner, who's a great guy, and our relationship, friendship relationship started from there. And actually, I got one of his rifles, the XCR, which stands for Exchange Rifle Caliber, XCR, Exchange Caliber Rifle, and took it out and tested it, ran thousands and thousands of rounds through it, and was impressed, to say the least. It was a true AK-AR baby. So it's an AR on the outside in looks, but you take the guts out of it and it's AK.
So tell me, I know we have a few more seconds before the break, but what are the flaws of the AR platform that you see as really a true professional?
It's finicky. I mean, the magazine is finicky if you get the buffer weight off, and we'll continue after the break. But the biggest thing is it's finicky. It's got gremlins in it.
Is it tough enough though? I mean, is it durable enough? It's just problematic.
That's a long discussion.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll continue this discussion right back afterward from our sponsors. You're listening to PrepperCon Radio on K-Talk, AM 630, and join in if you can, 801-254-5855, right after the break.
You are next.
Okay, our music is still super weird, and I apologize for all those who are listening.
That's
like,
awesome music. What are you talking
the
about?
tone, with that music, the tone's like, okay, now we're going to talk about something light and fluffy, like bunnies. Easter's on its way. So we're not going to go that route, though, because Easter's fun and eggs are tasty, but we're talking guns. And blowing stuff up today. So, I want to thank our special guest again. Jeff Kirkham's here with Readyman, and he is our favorite gun expert.
Ooh, favorite. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely favorite.
We have a lot of fun. Readyman has been, I like to call you guys a partner of ours with PrepperCon since inception. I mean, you guys jumped in last year, both feet. They had one of the coolest booths at PrepperCon. Everyone would just kind of, they were drawn to your booth because they're like, what's going on over there? And you guys had your lockpick sets out,
Locks, yeah.
and these are they're credit cards. You can just slide it in your wallet when you need it, pop it out, pull it apart, and unlock your lock, your cuffs,
Your house.
like whatever you need. Like it's got
Whatever
a
you
key
need.
set that you can use.
So if you get abducted by space aliens or the KGB, then you're good to go.
Or the BLM. I mean, let's get real.
That's true.
All right, that was probably a sucker punch there on my part. But hey, we're radio. We can talk. You can talk, and that's what we're here for. We've actually got a caller. We've got Troy on the line. Let's bring him on. He's got a question about, I believe, iron sights. Troy, are you there?
Yes, sir. Thank you, gentlemen.
Hey, you're welcome. Hey, thanks for being on the air. You're live with us.
All
And
right.
I understand you have a question about iron sights.
Yes. Can I mix my iron sights? I have one brand of iron sight on the front, pretty high end. I'm saving up for the rear iron sight, backup iron sights, whatever. It doesn't matter. Can you mix brands? What's the deal with iron sights?
You know, that's a great question, and as long as you have a high quality sight, remember what iron sights or what sights your traditional sights are doing is they're just lining up 2 points so that you can put that front sight on the target accurately. So as long as you have high quality sights on the front and back, then you should be good to go. Where the problem you run into is with some of the less expensive sights or some of the cheaper sights. Every time you fire your rifle, you know you've got a pretty violent action that's going on. You've got a bolt that's slamming to the rear. You've got muzzle rise from the explosion of the round going off, and stuff can tend to wiggle loose. So as long as it's not wiggling loose and it's lined up and it stays lined up, you should be good to go and have no problems.
Okay. Any brand recommendations? 1, 2, 3.
You know, there's so many high quality ones out there right now with a proliferation of rails. I'd be amiss to try and point you in one direction, because there's so many different shapes and sizes and how people want to fold them up or leave them stable and all that. I would say if you go to check out a couple of gun stores and get online and read the reviews, the information would be far more updated from that than what I could tell you over the radio, because there's just so many good quality ones to choose from. But check those reviews online, make sure, because inevitably, if somebody drops it and it falls off, then obviously that's not a good one.
So my question is steel, polymer? What kind of sight?
You know, Magpul just recently came out with some polymer, and they're holding up really well.
Okay.
From what we've seen. So, I don't know how well they're holding up overseas because it's kind of a newer thing. So, in actual quote-unquote combat conditions, as long if it's being a backup to an electronic sight, then you don't have as much worry that you're
Right.
having to worry about. The biggie is that people need to think about is get a good zero on your rifle, whatever caliber that is, and remember, caliber will dictate the range that you're zeroing your rifle at, and the range that you're engaging your targets at will tweak your zero as well. And then if you're shooting an electronic or you're shooting glass, then all of a sudden those irons or plastics, if you're buying from Magpul, are backups, and so they can be quite a bit more stable because they fold out of the way and they're not as apt to get banged around.
So that takes us into kind of talking about the lightweight, and we wanted to discuss that a little bit today. A lightweight AR like you had built and shown on your website and social media and so forth. Obviously, the polymer is going to be a lighter weight option.
It is, yep.
Now, you had also mentioned before we started the show is that these lightweight ARs that you had built weren't necessarily holding up.
Yeah, what we ran into is, we've got one of our posts that we put up, and it's a lightweight AR. And what we found was, now you got to keep in mind that when we're testing these things, we're shooting a lot of rounds through them, and what was happening was we actually kept fracturing the receiver on those, and we'd gone to the nth degree of building these things out. So we had a carbon fiber buffer tube so we could remove a few ounces there.
Were they aluminum or were they polymer receivers?
Polymer receivers,
okay.
yeah. And so what was happening is we actually, because of the violence of the action and the bolt, we'd replace the bolt with a lightweight bolt and had to get in there and fine tune everything, because anybody who shot an AR knows that everything's got to kind of line up just right, or else that guy's not going to work very well. You end up with a bunch of malfunctions and stuff. And so we'd get them fine tuned, and then we'd go out and shoot them quite a bit, and we'd break the receivers up around where it held the gas tube, actually.
Gotcha.
Because
Wow.
of the slamming of the bolt back.
Yeah, because, well, the bolt's coming back, and if you watch a rifle in slow motion, you've got a whip that's going on. So you talk to any sniper, they're talking about a whip that's actually happening on the barrel, which can affect the accuracy of the barrel. That's one of the big reasons that you've got these big bull barrels, or which popular now is they're wrapping them in carbon fiber
Right.
to try and get that barrel whip to be stiff, and because every time that barrel whips, it's ending up in some other place, which is minute, but when you start talking about a sniper who's trying to stack rounds, it makes a difference, especially at range. And so now, what's actually happening is that whole rifle receiver is flexing, and that plays into the harmonics of the rifle itself. So with an AR, obviously the pivot point is right where the buffer attaches to the receiver, so that becomes a flex point, and that's where we were snapping those things with the polymers, because they just weren't holding up.
That's crazy. Wow. So then, understanding some of those inherent problems with the AR, especially with the super lightweight build, those problems kind of have just further shown us that it is a malfunctioning platform. Probably not the best engineered solution. But you were talking earlier about the AK and why would you call that a superior platform?
Well, I think the big difference is, and all the AR aficionados out there are probably going to scream at this point, but and it's okay. But if you logically look at the design, and anybody who's worked with ARs will tell you, the AR is a great platform as long as you maintain it. And, one of the big design flaws, at least this is the world according to Jeff, and we'd all be a lot happier if we all listened to me, right? So, but
So far, so good.
So far, so good. But, the hardest part of that rifle to clean is the chamber, and arguably is the star chamber, and arguably the most important part of that rifle for it to work is the star chamber. And so now all of a sudden, if you get junk in the star chamber, carbon or dust or sand or water or any of that thing that interrupts that bolt from getting in there and rotating out so it can unlock, you're going to have malfunctions. And so that's where, when the AR, the gas rod systems for ARs, everybody was like, hey, what makes the AK so reliable? Well, it's a gas rod system. So they started throwing gas rods on AR platforms, thinking that it was going to be this miracle cure. And actually, depending on whose tests you look at, it was kind of a net zero, actually, is what they came back with. So it was performing, in some instances, it was performing better. In some instances, it was performing about the same. And so really saying that the AK is reliable based off of the gas rod is, it's a gross oversimplification of why that rifle works as well as it does. Actually, one of the videos that we just filmed was, I was comparing that. I had an argument where I said, hey, I think the father of the AK, everybody will say, well, it was a copy of the Sturmgewehr or the MP43 and MP44. And my argument is, no, it wasn't. I believe that the inspiration for the rifle, the inner workings, not necessarily, because high-capacity rifles were actually already in use. The PPS H41, which was a high-end pistol caliber, it was called the burp gun back then, was a 7.62 by 25. But everybody was already trying to do this, and I believe that the real father of the internal workings of the AK was actually the M1 Garand. Okay. Because the bolt, if you look at the bolt face of an M1 Garand, you look at the bolt face of an AK, they're pretty stinking close.
So my question for you is, okay, the AR, I personally like the platform for its functionality. It's a cool looking gun, obviously, so it's obviously very popular. I think a lot of the stuff you're talking about, is going over the head of most of our listeners. So what are your recommendations? Would you recommend that someone go out and buy an AK or start with an AR? I mean, or
Well,
what
you
do
know,
they-
there's for the folks that like the AR platform because for the ergonomics, and the ergonomics are great. You know, there's a local company here called Robinson Armament. They create they made up the XCR, which is, in my opinion, is a great combination of both. If you look at it in a glance, it looks like just another AR platform that's out there. But then as soon as you take the guts out, like what I showed you guys, it's like, whoa, those are the guts of an AK. And the added benefit with what Robinson came up with, it's like you loosen one bolt and you can pull the barrel off. So you can put a long barrel on there. If it's licensed for a short barrel rifle, you can put a short barrel on there, and then you just tighten this nut back up. It holds its zero actually surprisingly well when you're moving the barrels around, which you wouldn't expect. You can dial the gas, so if you're shooting junk ammo or you've got a suppressor on the end, you can adopt it. It's a really well thought out rifle platform.
So the price, what is the price point on that? Because basically and the reason I get into this is you can get yourself a budget AR for around $500, $600. And it's better to have one than none, right?
It is, and you know, and obviously in the world of capitalism, the more that's being produced, the lower the price, and that is a drawback to the Robinson. Is you know, it's up in the $1,500, $2,000 range
Which is
depending
still
on the
not terrible.
caliber. But you know, but you get a quality rifle that's got a folding stock and a collapsible stock and all that can go with it, and you don't have the issues. The cool thing. It's kind of like the MacBook of the PC world.
Okay.
So Mac's more expensive, but it comes with a bunch of the stuff that you end up paying extra for anyways.
Yeah.
Whereas you look at the Robinson, he's got the ambidextrous safety, he's got the ambidextrous magazine magazine release, he's got the ambidextrous, you know, bolt open. So
And I noticed the barrel is fairly lightweight. I might call it pencil barrel. What's your take on that? I have, you know, the M4 profile barrel in mine, which is more of a heavy barrel. What about, how does that affect accuracy?
you can actually you can sweat. That's the beautiful thing of it, is like you want a little bit heavier barrel, then you put a little bit heavier barrel on there. I just tested out his XCR-M, which is a 7.6251, a 308, and we were flabbergasted at the results. We were nailing steel offhanded at about 300 meters right out of the box with iron sights.
So would you choose that over, say, a Scarp 17?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It's actually is a thinner. When you pick it up, you're like, man, is this thing a 5.56? Because it's a real narrow profile on it. Whereas the Scar Heavy, the 308, is almost like you're carrying like a machine gun. It's huge. And so we're really happy. It's actually really nimble in the hands. We were all surprised when we shot it.
Okay, so let's talk about the M1. Like say the SOCOM. That's my next rifle is in the 308 caliber. What is your take on, say, compared to like going with an M1 Garand type platform?
Well, you know, when you talk about the M1, the M14, you know, the big drawback with the M14 that they ran into is when they were going back and retrofitting that thing with rails, it turned that rifle into such a heavy platform that nobody wanted to lug that thing around. And so, and again, like in one of our videos we just shot, we used an M14 shooting it. We went elk hunting, and we had military platforms that we were like, hey, can we use these hunting elk? And you know, staying within the restraints of, you know, of hunting, so we're legal and all that stuff. But you know, I had an M14, and it was a great rifle. It performed really well, but it was a little bit heavy. You know, that one was the traditional walnut stock, and actually the SOCOM M1s, they upped the weight a little bit on those things. So that's why it never it was, at first it was a real popular design, but it just kind of never really took off because nobody wanted to lug that thing around.
Yeah. Now, with my AR, I have done some modifications to it, and I've done these because I have reliability in mind, like the nickel boron bolt, not to clean it as often, and so forth. What about the M1 platform? Is that more reliable than, say, the AK, or?
You know, if you look at the M1 or the M14 platform, or the M1 Garand, I mean, the M1 Garand and the M14 are essentially the same thing.
Okay.
You know, some of the stuff that's in there that crosses over to the AK, or the design features, yes, absolutely enhances its reliability. And what I like to tell folks is, if you think about if you think about World War II, all the designers, whoever it is that you believe designed the AK, whether that was Schmeiser or Kalashnikov, doesn't matter. I call it Team Kalashnikov because it was most assuredly a group of people. Every one of those people was affected by World War II. Obviously, if you were Schmeiser and you were captured by the Russians, you were affected by World War II. And the Russians had lost millions of people in that conflict. Not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, millions of people in that conflict. Literally every single person in the Soviet Union was affected by World War II. The same with the Germans, obviously, as well. And so now you have these guys who are taking those lessons from the battlefield of the Eastern Front, where men were literally starving to death and freezing to death because of lack of logistics of maintaining weapon systems that they had. And so they would have taken those lessons and then applied them. And they would have certainly tested all of the platforms that were on the battlefield to figure out, okay, who's working the best, who's not working, and what can we borrow from that to create our own baby.
Right, now, before we go to break, I want to make sure that we talk about, after the next break, talk about optics a little bit. What else do I want to, and about caliber as well.
Absolutely.
Because obviously, you know, the AR is it's 5.56, pretty small caliber, whereas the AK is a 7.62 by 39, 30 caliber.
30
bullet.
caliber round.
So, which is obviously has a lot more energy, which is, I guess, the right term to use. I want to say
Well, more mass.
more
More mass,
weight,
so it
more
wants
mass.
to hold on to its energy longer.
Okay, over longer distance in particular. So the round that obviously the military still goes with is the 5.56. I mean, that's their primary go-to round, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And what's the reasoning for that?
Well, the reasoning, the original reasoning that came out when the rifle was adopted was if the bullets are light, what they did is they strictly looked at the math.
How much they can
They
carry.
said how many bullets are fired, and we'll get into it more here in a second, but how many bullets are fired, okay, that's how many bullets a guy needs to be able to carry.
Okay.
So it's pure math.
Awesome. Well, you guys, thanks for listening to K-Talk. We're going to be right back after a message from our sponsors. So stick around and join in the conversation when we get back.
Well, these carry the 5.56 now because you actually have less over penetration with a 5.56 than you do a 9mm.
They're going so fast, it just breaks
Because
up, right?
it's a small bullet that's moving really fast. So now when that small bullet hits something like drywall, it starts dumping its energy immediately, which it makes it actually a safer round for police to carry.
And I've actually said that on the show before for a home defense rifle. An AR is you know, or at least that caliber is a good.
As long as you pick the right
Right,
bullet.
soft,
And then,
right.
and then what was happening was Vietnam is a great example. Is they're trying to shoot through the jungle and they've got all this underbrush and stuff. Now all of a sudden the bullet's doing what the bullet's supposed to do. Is it's
Hit some underbrush.
hitting brush or sticks or something, and it starts losing its energy and tumbling actually goes all to hell. And so that's when they came out with the green tip. Because the green tip has the tungsten penetrator in there so that it can punch through stuff and hit targets behind it. So essentially we did this.
So is that the primary round of the military?
Yeah, well, that's all they shoot is green tip. Is green tip, except for the special mission units. Because they're trying, well, it's, you know, part of it, again, you go into corporatism, but part of it is you can't have all these different bullets. That's one of the things that ate the German army alive was they had all these different calibers. So you think about the logistical train that's behind that. Do you know what I mean? You've got to have this factory's producing this factory's producing, instead of just everybody producing one round. And then getting it out to the field, and did the boxes get mixed up? And so it's a huge logistical nightmare every time you change calibers. And so at the end of the day, if you're poking holes, you're poking holes. You know, I mean,
Yeah, whether it's 22 or
but the 30 caliber has been well established as being
How long would you
around
wait
that
to get
will
relief from your nasal
that will
congestion?
cross.
So that's my
If you're
next
congested
rifle
now,
I'm getting
and you want
is a
powerful
308. And I
relief
still haven't decided
use
what.
Afrin
I love the SoCo.
Afrin starts
I want to be
working in
a
seconds.
defensive round, but I want to be able to reach out some too. I don't need a 1,000-yard gun.
And you know the caliber that's probably schwacked more people than anything is the 33. in the 30-30, you have a lot of Indians on the plains. And the 30-30, really the 7.62-39 is the rough equivalent of the 30-30.
Oh, okay.
Ballistically, they're very, very similar. Very similar bullet weight, very similar trajectory, accuracy, and stuff. And actually,
It's killed more deer than anything else.
it's killed more deer than anything else. And and you've got that big. And what they did was, because it's 30 caliber, but it's a reduced power, it still has enough energy that it can start smashing through, walls and stuff. Because in the rules of war, we're not dealing with police. Police is, he needs to see somebody he can shoot. But if somebody's shooting at me behind this wall, guess what? I'm gonna start raking that wall, because I'm not worried about little kids and stuff like that in the middle of the battlefield.
Yeah.
So the 308 just was one of those things where 308 is a great round. It's just a little bit big.
For weight-wise, for carrying.
Yeah.
So I settled on this optic. I've got red dots.
Yeah, there's a bunch of guys are really happy.
Run the 1x4s.
Yeah.
And I love the versatility of it. You're up close. You can dial it in and shoot out 500 yards with that thing. Of course, it's
The cloud. It may sound nebulous,
This with this mount is
hazy,
pound and a half.
but the value of
more.
cloud computing for your workforce can be
I guess that's why
very
you like
real
EOTech,
indeed.
right? I mean,
That's why thousands of
small.
organizations of all types and sizes
But
are deploying
for reaching
the
out,
Kronos
I guess
Cloud,
that's
transforming the way that access
reaching out, I
workforce
carry
management
30 round
solutions to reduce
magazine.
labor costs, improve workforce
just
productivity,
gotta scrape
and minimize compliance risks. For a clear view of the Kronos
Okay,
Cloud,
and keep
visit
the EOTech on there.
Kronos.com. Kronos,
Yeah, I mean,
workforce
the
innovation
EOTech, they've
that
got some of
works.
the, EOTech's been losing its minute of angle. There's some design problem there. EOTech has really been getting beat up because it's losing its zero and stuff like that when it's getting from the shock of shooting.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to K-Talk Radio. This is the PrepperCon radio show. We've got a special guest in here, Jeff Kirkham with Readyman. Thanks for being here, Jeff.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I could talk to you for hours.
Before we go jumping back into it, I want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Utah Safe Haven. They're actually sponsoring this hour of the show. If you are looking for bug out land, or if you're looking for fun recreational land, somewhere to put a small tent, a cabin, a large cabin, check out UtahSafeHaven.com, or you can call them at 435-315-8346. They have just about any kind of land you're looking for, and it's really affordable. And the best thing is they do their own in-house financing. So you don't need a credit check. You don't have to have perfect credit. These guys can help you out. So check out UtahSafeHaven, HAVEN.com. These guys are awesome. Skip will take care of you. His team will definitely take care of you and get you the land you need.
And they will be out to PrepperCon as well.
They'll be at PrepperCon. They've got a huge booth and display that's going to be a lot of fun. Over the next few weeks, we're going to spend a lot of time talking to groups that are coming to PrepperCon, giving you some sneak peeks of what to expect. It's going to be more fun. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better in every way. And you have to get there. So get your tickets online, www.preppercon, that's CON.com.
All right.
So we're back. We're talking about the AR versus the AK. We're talking platforms. This segment, we really want to talk more about sights, scopes, optics, all those
Caliber.
fun things that I'm not really that familiar with, that I need to be, and that's why we're here.
Well, let me, I guess, talk about my evolution. It is said, I guess, even in the military, you start learning to shoot with your iron sights, correct?
Absolutely.
So where does it progress from there? I mean, what's your advice as to where, after you learn how to shoot with your iron sights, where do you go from there?
Well, it's one of those things where because iron sights are so fundamental, you have to have good fundamentals, or else those iron sights just aren't going to work for you. And you can, with electronic sights or with glass sights, when I say glass, I mean like scopes, magnified optics. You can, not so much with the glass optics, but you can start to develop some bad habits that when you go back to your iron sights,
I'll let her know.
you can run into issues.
Thanks, man.
And so,
Bye.
from there, I'm a big fan of the EOTech. Now, of course, the EOTech, the holosight, has had some issues here lately where it was losing some of its zero and stuff. So if you get a holosight, like I've got a holosight on my rifle here, and I haven't had any issues with it. I shot a ton out of it, and I haven't run into any issues. But apparently those gremlins exist out there. But there's plenty of high quality sights. Aim Point is
Yeah,
another one.
and that was going to be my next question for you. Is obviously the aim point aren't the same type of holographic sight.
No,
You're
they're
looking
not.
through a 30 millimeter tube. What's the benefit of EOTech over, say, apparently you like the EOTech.
And I found that at the end of the day, it's personal preference.
Okay.
Because I really like the EOTech because it's a big window, and I feel like I'm looking through a
Right.
window. My business partner Evan, who is probably one of the fastest, most accurate shooters I know, really prefers the microdot for the EOTech, which I absolutely, the microdot for the aim point, which I hate that thing. I can't hit the broadside of a barn with it, but he loves it, and he's obviously very accomplished with it. So at the end of the day, what you've got to do is go out and find the one that works for you. Like your platform that you have there, these guys are kind of somewhat new on the scene.
Vortex, you mean.
Vortex,
Yeah.
who's there, and they've been putting out an aim point type with a magnification. And
That's
so-
what you have, Scott, right?
Yep.
and they actually, we've been really impressed with their stuff so far. It's affordable, so you're not dropping $500-600 on your sight that can cost more than your rifle, like an EOTech. And they seem to be holding up really well.
And they have a great warranty. And obviously being a new company, they need to throw that warranty out there, which is basically essentially you drop it, you break it, you get a new one.
Yeah, they're competing with the big boys, so you got to be
Yeah.
better, faster, and less expensive.
That's right. And so that's one of the reasons I decided to go with this. Also because of the price, it's about a $500 optic, which for me is which is plenty. I guess my next question to you is, what can the people who are listening, where can they start? Because obviously, I have one of my favorite red dots is a little $100 Bushnell. It's just kind of like the MRO, or kind of like the Trijicon. I forget the name of the site, but it's a very small, very inexpensive red dot. Is that a great place for most people to start?
I would say yes, because red dots are not all created equal. So one thing that I don't like about the aim point is when you increase the brightness on it, you're actually increasing the size of the dot.
Right.
Whereas I don't like that. Whereas the EOTech, as you increase the brightness, you're actually just increasing the intensity of the dot. It's still like 1 minute of angled dot that's in the center and south. So, and that's where it's like, get out there, get to any of these quality ranges around here will let you borrow or rent rifles, and you can shoot them, and you can run those rifles, or if you get out to some of the competitions and whatnot, or even just take them out yourself, borrow your buddies, and take it out and shoot it and see, hey, I like this works for me, or no, it doesn't. Again, you use Evan and myself. He really likes that microdot. I despise it. I like the EOTech. He does not like the EOTech.
Right.
So it's a lot of personal preference there.
I think the thing that I like to point out is that you don't have to spend a lot of money at first.
No, you do not, and you shouldn't.
Right. Either on a rifle or on an optic, I guess, right? Because mine, you could easily start with $500 AR.
Well,
And
we
then
just
learn
had a
from
caller. While you guys were chatting, I took a call, and he said that you're both wrong.
Okay.
He said, don't get an AK, don't get an AR. He said, get a Browning 50 cal.
Well, there you go. That'll solve all your problems.
And he
So
just
a
laughed
bolt
his
gun.
way off the phone. It was pretty awesome.
So a bolt gun rather than, and that's a whole other aspect I would love to talk to you about is, I would like my next rifle to be a bolt gun as well.
Yeah.
But in a defensive situation, you really, my feeling is that you need to have a semi-automatic.
Yes, without a doubt. Semi-auto is, when you talk self-defense and whatnot, essentially it's about poking holes. If you want to stop the threat, and so that's where the FBI and the DEA and a lot of these federal organizations, and even a lot of the local, are all going back. They're dropping the 40 and they're going back to the 9mm, just simply based off of the data's not supporting the bigger bullet. It's not enough of a difference. What they are finding is holes are what equal stopping a threat, not necessarily these
Caliber.
big Mongasso calibers.
So during the break we were talking a little bit about caliber, the 5.56 versus the 7.6 to the 308, and it's about essentially about how many rounds you can carry on your person.
Yeah, so originally, and that's where they came up with the 5.56, was they did the math. They said one soldier shoots X number of rounds to cause this many casualties. So that in a perfect world, it's, okay, let's increase the number of rounds that a soldier can carry, because with the M1 Garand only carry like 8 rounds. So But at the time, that was a tremendous amount of firepower because everybody else was running around with bolt actions. And then that was the day of the subgun. The subguns were running around with 20 and 30 round magazines, unless it was a PPS H41, the burp gun, that had 75. So now all of a sudden, when the Germans were fighting the Russians, like in Stalingrad and stuff, and they were fighting Russians that had burp guns, now all of a sudden it's not a big leap to understand why Germans were picking up burp guns, because it was like, wow, this is a huge advantage, and it was a great round too, 7.62-25. And so that it was pure math where they said, okay, let's go with a smaller round because soldiers can carry more.
So are you saying that I am perfectly fine to stick with my 5.56, or should I really consider maybe going up to a 7.62 by 39 or 51?
It depends. It totally depends on what you're doing. If you're going to go out deer hunting or something like that, or elk hunting,
larger.
obviously you ask any hunter if you're going to go hunting with a 5.56 and they'll look at you like crazy.
Yeah. So, but in a defensive situation, my AR, the 5.56 should be completely capable.
I would say probably.
Okay, good word.
Probably.
Should be.
It should be.
Should be.
Yeah.
But the bigger the better, right? Is that kind of the...
No, not
Not
necessarily, because remember we go back to the discussion about holes are better. So, if I could carry around if a 22 worked, then that would be the best of both worlds, or the 177, because now you get that little round. But we found, at some point there is a drop off. Like the big hit overseas for a while was the 5.7, and we quickly found out it was, the MP7 was shooting that smaller HK round, and we quickly found out it was a great round if you were fighting alley cats, and that was about it. So we stopped carrying
that is a bit of an odd round, but there's a lot of odd rounds out there. So one thing as preppers, we talk about commonality, not having too many different kinds of rounds of ammo, having the 357, the 9, the 40, you've got all these different calibers, and that's kind of what I've done, is narrowed down to a handful of calibers so that it's easier to find if I'm scrounging, less expensive to buy, and I don't have so many different types of rounds. I know you were mentioning that was kind of Germany's problem in the war.
It was. Germany was running a bunch of different rounds for their weapon systems that they had, their rifles and their submachine guns and stuff, and it killed them logistically. And that's whereas, like, somebody that's thinking about it is, at some point, the best rifle that you have, or pistol that you have, is the one that you have on you. And the one that you have on you, hopefully you've gone out and you've trained with it, and you've mastered, or at least gotten to a high degree of proficiency with that system. And the only way to do that is, big bullets cost bigger books. And so that's where the 5.56, starts taking off, because it's a smaller round. It costs less.
Let's take a couple questions real quick. We got Will on line 3 here.
What about 1522?
Hey, Will, you there? We'll start over there, Will. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep, we got you now.
All right, I just said good morning.
Morning.
And I have a 45 caliber. It's an HK, and Hector Koch 45, USP 45. And I like the gun. I just thought, well, gosh, this is the caliber I like. So I thought, well, 45, I'm going to be able to do whatever I need to do with it. Whether I'm camping and I run into a bear, or, home defense. What's your opinion on the 45? Because I know it's definitely a slower bullet.
It's the 45 is a big, slow bullet. And originally when the 45 was brought out, it was coming out of the heyday, remember, of 6-shooters that were 45 long Colts. And so the 45 long Colt was well established in the grain weight and the speed of that bullet for fighting, and also as a sidearm. So the 45 has got a long-standing great reputation. For me personally, I don't prefer the 45 simply because it's a big package, and you've got to carry that.
Lower capacity.
Big package, typically a lower capacity.
Well, you know what?
I kind of had a laugh to myself at the gun range, and I was actually watching the projectile travel from the gun.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, crap, if someone's got a 9mm, in that terrible scenario of a gun battle, I'm in trouble.
Absolutely. Well, we're out of time. Thank you for your call. We got to head to break. You're listening to K-Talk Radio. This is PrepperCon Radio on K-Talk. And we're out of here. Have a great week.
Thank you for having me.
Your solution, founded by preppers for preppers. They have the best properties for sale, ranging from small campsites to 50 acres or more. Pricing starts at just $19,900. And the best thing, everyone qualifies
I've
for the
been wanting
special
to
in-house
look
financing
into
and
the
no credit
Robinson
checks.
Arms
Call Utah Safe Haven
XCRs.
today at 435-315-8346 or email info@utahsafehaven.com and discover how quickly you can find your safe haven. That's 435-315-8346.
People have tried to
Hi, Tom.